acrylics and pastel painting together using pastel with acrylics. Pastel and acrylics were made, quite honestly, to be put together. People, when they ask, can you mix acrylics together? Heck yes. After all, pastels basically are almost pure pigment. And acrylics, all they are is pure pigment mixed with a binder that is an acrylic polymer. Welcome to my channel. Hi, I'm artist and pastelist Avon Waters, and my channel is dedicated to sharing what I've learned so that you don't have to have the same struggles I did. I spent years breaking the rules and experimenting and getting rejected so that you don't have to. And today I want to show you just one of the ways that I mix acrylics and pastels together. So the real question is not can you mix the two, but why not? And how do you do it? And that's what today's video is all about. There's a lot of texture in there. When I applied the first acrylic, it was much thicker. It had less dilution. You can see some of that texture. This is what we're after on the first application. This falls under the mixed media category, but more and more pastel competitions are now creating specialized categories. More and more pastel organizations are encouraging their members to experiment and work with other materials, but still end up with a pastel at the end. What you saw at the beginning of this video was the heavier textures that the acrylic created, the heavier brush strokes. This is more of a wash. At this particular point, I am just trying to adjust some of those colors, to adjust some of those values, so that I'm not, as I try to near the end of this using pastel, that I'm not put in a position where to push that pastel in some of these nooks and crannies and end up with the percentage of pastel falling above what's permissible. Depending on the organization, these shows typically come with some sort of percentage, that the finished product has to be a certain percentage of pastel at the end. Not necessarily at the end, but at some point. So when they look at the surface, it's not just all, in this case, I'm working with acrylic. I've used kind of a C-shaped composition, and I've got an L shape combined with this C shape. Those are all fairly well-known compositions in landscape, and that should help this work. So I'm worried less about trying to figure out what that composition is going to be and more about my surfaces. So the closer we can get these areas with the correct value and the correct underpainting of what pastel colors might go on top, or pastel colors that might complement these, the easier it's going to be to stay within those permissible guidelines. I've got to get a little more brightness in some of these areas that, I'm thinking there might be clouds there, there might be some brighter sunlight near the horizon behind these trees. I want to keep it a misty, almost foggy morning sort of situation. So I'm going to work on trying to get a little more brightness in here. I try to keep my palette fairly simple, and I don't have a lot of colors out here. I have some of these yellows and some of these oranges and some reds and red violets. And if I make this out of like way too bright, at least I know I can scrape away underneath where I have a planned highlight area. If you don't have a planned area, and you're not planning ahead like where the light source and where a hot spot might be that you can, with a pastel or other mediums, get into the right value, then you wouldn't want to be doing this. I can tame that value down with just a little, and you'll see that here in a minute. You'll see how by adding pastel over that, I can adjust the values but still let a high percentage of this brightness shine through. I want to try to keep that C shape going in here, so I want to get a little bit higher value in there. So the goal is to get some of these colors underneath so they show through, and you can stay in compliance. So every brush stroke, every effort that I'm making here on this is in the goal of ending up with something that is 30 to 50%. Just dry brushing some of this in almost like it's a fog. Soften up some of those edges. We can use this and use the acrylic underneath. Once this acrylic dries, it's important that you add something. The acrylic is very slick, so it's important that you add either clear gesso that has a pumice in it so the pastel will have something to stick to, or add something like a workable fixative so that the pastel will have, and pencil and whatever you decide to use in your mixed media has something to stick to that acrylic. When you first start applying the pastel, pressure is extremely important. If you apply too much pressure, you'll fill up way too many of the grooves. You can see here that you're going to have to do a little blending in order to make the pastel marry well with the values that are already on there. Again, the secret is you get these values pretty close so that all you're really trying to do at this particular point is, instead of using acrylic to finish this painting and making finer strokes and taking this broad abstract form, you are able to use the pastel instead in the finishing stages instead of the acrylics that if you were an acrylic painter and you were not making a mixed media piece. See how this is nice and bright, and see these lines? You've got to do some of that blending. Whatever color I put on top of here, this will easily stay 50% or under, because when you look at this close up, you'll see that there's a lot of that acrylic still showing through. But the distance view of it, looking at it from a distance, from a viewer standpoint, it comes together as one painting, whether it's multimedia, all pastel, or all acrylic. I can't finish this painting today, but just to give you an idea, in multimedia using pastels, you're not limited. I can use this ink pen if I want a sharp line. I can use this micro pen in order to add a black line. I can even use graphite to come in here to illustrate a few places. Like, let's say I want a tree up in here, and I can put a tree trunk in there. I can put a tree trunk in there and show and outline that with the pastel and the acrylic around it. So by adding just a few details in some areas of focus with other instruments, whether it's for competition or in your own work, you can create a lot by mixing pastel with other mediums and other tools. Sometimes it's just a little bit of linear detail that helps a landscape read better. You can go overboard with these tools, but I think you see what I'm talking about when just this little section here and along the shoreline we see off in the distance. If I did that all the way across there, I would lose my center of interest. But you can see how just by adding these little bits of linear detail, you can help this painting read as not fuzzy all over. And that is one of the things I love. Fuzzy, vague landscapes. It's that atmospheric feel. But every now and then, these added tools will help me clarify and make it read better for people viewing this. I hope you try this multimedia approach. Unlike many of my paintings where I work unfettered and I just let the painting show me where it wants to go, with Pastel Plus and competitions that give you a guideline, you have to work much more constrained. And when you do constrain yourself, sometimes you'll find interesting and new ways to solve problems. So I encourage you to try it at least once, set yourself a percentage and see how you do. If you're liking the content of these videos and this video, please, even if you're a subscriber, hit the like button. It really helps others find this content. And by all means, if you try this, let me know how it works. Let me know what happened and what you thought. So until next time, goodbye everybody and happy painting, and we'll have something new for you. So take care, bye-bye.